You're live.
Us looking at
The screen.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We're
First
in the
live
flesh.
stream ever for Kontact Pluto.
I'll learn more later. What the fuck? All right.
That was easy.
God bless technology.
No kidding.
Do we get this out of the way?
What's that?
We'll just leave this. First 27 seconds.
Who cares?
I guess we ain't got to do. All right.
We're right there.
Bonjour.
Hellos.
Welcome to the first ever Kontact Pluto live stream. I'm Kontact Tha Capricorn.
And I'm Pluto Da Scorpio.
Welcome to all zero viewers. Yes.
All zero.
All zero.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we had any kind of content.
That's true.
Has it been over a year or has it been less than that?
I think the last one we put out was last year, yeah?
I think so. It's about that time. I think it's been about a year.
Well, fittingly for this this iteration of this, we're going to do a check-in. Check-in on what we've been up to, where we've been, and kind of delve a bit into how trying to have spirituality as a part of your life evolves as you get older, or at least you keep doing it for year after year. So we're going to do that, but we got, what do we got here, Jules?
There's a Viking on there,
Mm-hmm.
and it says facts 10%.
Now, last time I had this, well, I suppose it wasn't too long ago, maybe about a year ago. I always give my my sister's boyfriend one of these for his birthday. He hates it every time because it is disgusting. And
if I didn't know better, man, and I saw this, I'm like, this is a manly beer, you know. Facts 10, Denmark. Quality extra strong beer.
In high school, some guy put me onto this, and so we'd hang out behind the liquor store, underage, try to get people to get some booze. Anyways, God,
that's not horrible, actually.
No, but I always remember having it has like a metal taste to it. Not terrible.
Not great.
Because we would
extra manly.
We would just shotgun these.
That's
just
the typical thing, right?
Shotgun two of them, and you were fucked.
I remember
for like $6.
I remember my old singer Chris Gould. Remember Chris Gould?
Mm-hmm.
He used to show up to band practice with two of these, and he shotgunned them both, and he used to be fucking obliterated by the end of the band practice.
I got the recipe, guys.
So we took two little pieces of mushroom gummies before this podcast.
Yeah.
Not sure if I'm feeling it entirely, but there's definitely like something lingering in the background. I'm feeling like there's no edge anymore. Everything's kind of just smooth.
Yeah. I can't say I'm like too noticing it much, but I don't feel fucked, so that's good. We just sit here and watch us on the screen.
I just want to see like where it shows like likes or viewers or shit like that. This is my first live stream with you, so
up here in the corner with 0 likes, 0 views. So
I see that
coming in hot.
Yeah. We're quite popular.
Well, I figured as much. This will just part of doing this. It just saves my ass from doing any editing. So here we are, raw and uncut. I don't know. I guess try and come up with a question.
Get into it, yeah. So maybe I'll start with this. You're talking about spiritual check-ins.
Yeah.
Let's put it in like a time frame.
Yeah.
Over the last, like, I don't know, where do you feel like you've shifted the most in the last, like, you can kind of like tell me the time frame of where you, like, from what you were to what you are now, if you notice like there was a big shift.
Well, I guess context for viewer would be about 2012. We both got into spirituality.
Yeah.
I think that's like correct. So I saw Spirit Science movie and
Yeah.
Or no, you saw spirit signs.
I saw spirit
Thrive.
signs. Yeah, you showed me Thrive, and I
Yeah.
showed you guys spirit signs.
Yeah. And that just kind of kicked off things. I think we were both sort of already in that, like entering that realm a little bit. I mean, hence that we even found information like
and that we were like neighbors.
Yeah. That
finding the thing at the same time. That was kind of fatalistic type of thing.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that.
Well, yeah. It seems that way to me too. Like, yeah, just I had my neighbor there because for me, I definitely stopped hanging out with a lot of people who weren't into it. And to have you nearby definitely helped to go through it with somebody who's
absolutely, and we've definitely always like kind of came and gone out of each other's lives too, because you're trying to figure out your journey going to Europe and moving out west and whatnot, where I kind of just stayed stasis at home and dealt with it all myself because I had working with my parents and kind of taking over the reins of the restaurant business and whatnot. I kind of felt like it was my only escape was learning stuff like that. That was my escape from that.
Okay. Yeah. That paints an interesting angle on it. I never really thought of it that way, but it makes sense.
Looking back to it, that's kind of exactly what it was. I was basically getting a tool belt of all the things that I could use in reality, or however you want to put it, in my everyday life, that I can actually implement these things and have greater quality of life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess for me, the big one was astrology. Sort of helped me understand my dynamics between my parents and opinions. And,
you really gravitated towards astrology.
Yeah, it's still a large part of my life today. Like I do, I watch my astrology forecast every month and check in with those. And if I'm ever feeling like too off kilter, I'll always go look at where the planets are right now and try and draw some reason out of that. Sometimes it's the planets, sometimes it's just me, but if I can determine that's one of the planets, sometimes that's a little easier to take the weight off my own shoulders.
Absolutely. And there's been some astrological things happening too, with like the super rare blue moon happening. Won't be another one for another like till 2037.
2037. Shit.
I think that's the year they said it was going to come back. That's why they say once in a blue moon.
Yeah, I thought maybe it happened once a year. I thought that was rare enough, but no.
You might be right. It might be like a specific type of blue moon. I actually didn't look into it as much as I thought.
Blue moon is 2 full moons in a month. That's what that is.
Is that all that is?
That's all it is. Yeah, we had a blue moon.
And then the Earth was in between Saturn and Jupiter at some point.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that was a couple days ago.
Yeah, I never, because that leans more into the astronomy than astrology.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like they never tell you where Earth's placement is, but I think the concept is like Earth is at the center, and then everything revolves around it. Not that.
Now that I think of it, it's kind of a weird thing to think about. It's like, why do we think we're the center? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I guess we know that there's
to our perspective, we are.
Well, there's no life on the other planets, as far as we know, or at least not like our bodies like this. Could be like higher dimensional life, like beings that don't need material.
I'm thinking like geologically, like having like.
Oh yeah, because we're not even in the center of the lineup. If you look at the lineup, yeah.
Well, yeah, like the sun is in the center of the solar system, right? Earth is just like an orbiting planet. But at one point in our existence, we never really considered that. And I watched a podcast today with Terrence McKenna talking about magic and hermeticism and things of that nature. And he was talking about this one guy. I can't remember his name, but he was actually burnt at the stake in the 1500s in Italy because he discovered that all the little spots in the sky were suns.
Okay.
Or had the potential to be suns. And at the time, no one had ever thought anything like that before. And to have that kind of realization is like, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Like, those are suns.
I know what to do with this guy. Burn him. Fucking Christ. I'm glad we've come a long way since that. But it's not too surprising. Shit. Imagine those fuckers came to this present day and age. They'd be burning a lot more than that guy. They'd be burning us all. Christ.
Yeah.
How
Wow.
many genders? Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, like maybe I'm thinking of where you see the world going. Like, does spirituality help you kind of, I don't know, think the world's going in a positive place, or do you think the world's getting worse? That's kind of a typical conundrum. Some people, there's obviously camps or.
I mean, I think I don't want to be a fence sitter, but I think those things are both happening simultaneously. It's like it's constantly always being the best and worst of times.
Like, do you think some of the systems that are like kind of collapsing on us need to collapse for something better to become?
I think that's the appropriate way to look at it. But there's a lot of really cool information coming out. Like in one sense, we've never been so technologically advanced with like AI being as radical as it is, and all this like new footage of alien life with the Pentagon in America.
Yeah.
And then all the other stuff that's happening behind the scenes when it comes to like gender roles and politics in that sphere.
Yeah.
And how these countries are being run. It's just like there's always extremes on each side, constantly, not always balancing either. It's just like there's always something happening.
Okay. So do you adopt the mindset of like it has to get worse before it gets better? So that's kind of where I'm at with.
I mean, I typically like that saying,
mm-hmm.
and I think that's a good way of framing it.
Yeah.
And more oftentimes than not, that is usually the situation.
Yeah.
So I would definitely abide by that saying.
Yeah.
I do enjoy it. I do say it myself. But if you look into it, how much worse does it need to get before it gets better? That's kind of a better question to ask. It's like how much can we actually take before it actually gets better, before it doesn't?
I mean, it starts to have to like affecting directly just everybody, some very varying degree.
Do you believe that the universe will only give you what you can handle? It will never give you anything more than that it thinks you can't handle.
I guess I would. Then the conundrum of free will, I'm just thinking about a few people I know where it's like their free will has just fucked them, and they seem to, that they still exist. They're there. Like, are they enjoying it as much as they could?
Exactly. Their quality of life isn't where it could be.
Sometimes I get fucked up on this because I think that like my judgment of how much better their life could be is correct. And maybe it is correct, but also maybe they're like this superhero who's like figured out how to like, I don't know, survive in some fucked up dynamic that I can never thrive in.
Well, they chose a different path and they're thriving on that path.
I suppose. And I guess their output or like our expectations of their, offerings to society are.
Do you think there is
lower.
no wrong path? For anyone?
No, but I think it's like the typical thing. There's you have the freedom to do all the fucking dumb shit.
Yeah.
And if it is that you do it, it's because you need to confirm. So, it's kind of difficult to take somebody's word that like the burner is hot without touching it.
Right.
That old metaphor. But I do think that that's why it kind of has to get worse before it gets better. Because if we were to just like stop right now and say like, hey, everybody, this is going towards like a very bad area. If we stop now and change it, we can avoid going there. And it's like, I don't think that the collective would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I feel like there might be too many that'd be like, oh no, like he's full of shit. And so it's like they would want to go touch the burner. And so I battle with that a lot. Like, can we get society to like not touch the burner? Do they have to touch it? And this is where I feel like I think they have to touch it. I really wish that there was a way around it. And then I get like caught up in my spiritual beliefs of like, well, if I believe it, I can achieve it. So if I believe that there's a way in which we can like, convince everybody to not touch the burner, then shouldn't that be like, shouldn't my actions and my life and my whole like being, kind of live and abide by that or reflect that, I guess?
Like, if there's a will, there's a way kind of type of mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense.
Does that feel kind of where the limits of spirituality sometimes like don't benefit us as much as we'd like?
I think that's very unique to the individual. I think that there could be points where you hit a wall or hit a plateau when it comes to those things. And I think that's, it could be a matter of like surrendering, could be a matter of just believing in yourself and your own, like having, even betting on yourself, knowing that you can specifically get through these things.
Hmm.
I think that's a very powerful tool to have. And your belief on how other people are able to do those things, I think energetically could have influence depending on the circumstances of how powerful your intentions are in reality and how often you're interacting with them as well.
It's kind of like the idea, like you just maintain hope for them despite what, seems to suggest that the hope is not warranted.
Yeah.
Like kind of hope them out of the hope provides, at least it doesn't provide the energy of judgment. I think it's some people in a tight situation where I'd love to get them out of, but I don't know how to process it. Like I've said, I've tried to give my advice and that didn't go over well.
That's a big thing too, man. It's like when you want to give people advice and sometimes you actually know that like this is going to help you.
Yeah.
But you can only it's like the old saying, like you can only bring a horse to water.
Yeah.
You can't make them drink, right?
How do we figure out how to force the horses to drink? That's like, yeah, that's where the savior of society is.
That's where the businessman comes in. It's like how do you sell snow to an Eskimo? You know what I mean?
Jesus. Oh no, take E40's masterclass, I guess. I could sell sand to a beach, water to a leech. Yeah, that part gets difficult. I mean, we're listening to that Michael Jackson song, and even like him back then, he has a lyric like, "If you want to change the world, change yourself." It was right. Yeah, maybe I'm like paraphrasing slightly, but it was basically that essence of.
I think that's like the ultimate right there, because that can be applicable at any point in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I do like the old Bible saying. I think it was King Solomon that said this. It was this too shall pass. And that saying can be applied to you at any point in your life.
I updated this quote recently because I've always hated that quote. I'm like, this too shall pass. It's like, well, why the fuck is it here in the first place? Like, I get some things come, so I learn the lessons. Yeah. And like, it's very evident when you learn the lessons because it just relieves all the pain and burden of whatever it is that you don't want to be there. Yeah. But then there's some times where it's like, this is just the same shit I fucking seen like 5 years ago. So like, what the fuck am I doing? And I do the self-work, like go through my being and like, what am I missing? What am I missing? And sometimes it's just chalked up to nothing. So what I added to this quote is, this too shall pass, but along with it, what else? And sometimes I feel like it's there just taking shit away from you. And it's like, if you've already learned this lesson, you're going through it again. Should you just run? Like, should you just get rid of whatever is in the way?
Do you think a portion of that is like self-sabotage, like almost looking for things to go wrong? Because I find that does happen. I even notice myself doing things like that sometimes. Sometimes I'm just like, everything's too good right now. You know what I mean? It's not always a conscious thing. It's kind of happening like over-analyzing something. You know what I mean? Like, everything's too good. And you just want to like throw a fucking wrench in the spokes. No. Like, why would you ever want to do that? But like, why do you think the human brain does that?
Well, some people do that just because like they're idiots, and I think that comes to the whole self-worth aspect of spirituality. Like people think like people don't think that they're worth having things going right in their life, so then they come up with these sayings like it's too good, it's bound to break, like it's just a matter of time. And so spirituality's answer to that question
very pessimistic view of life, isn't it?
Yeah, But if you look into spirituality concepts, they suggest that self-worth is the issue there. So that if you somehow develop a self-worth, then you will believe that, like, no, I do deserve these good things happening in my life, and you won't be trying to sabotage them with that pessimistic belief.
Right.
But I don't know that, like, I don't know that I get that all the time. Like, I feel for me that my self-worth, like, I know that I'm worth my efforts, and like I'm worth, like, if I get something that I like and I want, like, I feel like that I deserve it. I hate that because there's the context, obviously, of, like, deserve, like, whatever. Who am I to deserve more than you? But maybe that's like humbleness. Humbleness is the fucking
Humble's all. I think being humble is a very good approach. Did I ever tell you that I went to go see a hypnotherapist?
You did, yeah. And you said what they had, like, programmed you for.
Well, I initially told him what I wanted to be programmed for.
Yeah.
And the original idea was, I used the words abundance mindset.
Okay.
So that would basically mean walking through life with, you already have everything that you need, and you act in a way that you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
And in that state, everything comes to you because you don't need it.
Yeah.
I think that's like probably one of the highest levels you can get. And when it comes to, like, quality of life and non-attachment and things of that nature.
And so do you feel like it registered?
At the time, I think it's now it's dissipated, but at the time I wasn't sure if it was working, and it was very odd. I didn't know how I was supposed to feel, because I was going through a breakup at the time too. I was kind of just looking for an out to, like, vent and allow myself to relax and have new positive thoughts in my subconscious brain. I thought this guy would really help me. It cost a lot of fucking money too. And
what do you run you? $500?
No, it was like almost $1,000.
Shit, son.
And it was for like about 15 to 17 sessions, which is quite a bit.
Okay.
But the thing is, I didn't know if I was falling asleep, or if you just tell me bullshit, or how much it actually registered, or how much I'm able to be hypnotized.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know. I really don't know what was happening, because, like, at the time I wasn't sleeping very much.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I was just taking naps and he was just talking to me, or it was registering my subconscious mind.
I mean, in essence, that is basically hypnotherapy.
What I've noticed after the fact, for about a year and a half,
yeah,
I think it worked to an extent.
Yeah.
At the time, I really wasn't thinking about the future. I wasn't really thinking about the past. I was really just living in the now. And honestly, I didn't really care about much things at all. And I was honestly quite, I don't know if happy is the right word, but I was very carefree. I didn't really care about anything.
Okay.
But I wasn't like, how do I say, like, I'm just not like, I wasn't like looking for anything. I wasn't sad. I wasn't depressed. I was just kind of like basically nonchalant about everything in my life.
Okay. So then seemed like it, like, would you go back again?
Not to that guy. I think I don't know how receptive I am to hypnotherapist techniques.
So wouldn't, like, spirituality tell you that, like, that's how you become non-receptive, by doubting how receptive you are? Like the power of
I've
belief?
even tried to hypnotize myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's either I'm too, like, strong-willed, or I'm just too stubborn for it.
Yeah.
But I do know myself quite well, and I have, like, a ridiculous amount of willpower. When I want something and I know that's exactly what I want, I won't stop until I get it.
Yeah.
Same thing, like, about like 2017, I decided to quit weed and go vegetarian the same day, and now that's been 7 years since that day.
Yeah. So then this kind of makes me think that, like, there's tools various tools, and it's like different strokes for different folks, like a cheesy thing, but like perhaps the people who are more susceptible to being hypnotized, those are the people who need it because they don't have the willpower to go and achieve on their own as much as you do. So that's like a picture I'm seeing painted. I'm not, that seems like it could be right, essentially.
Do you think that's people with more strong-willed minds that like can sense bullshit? That's why these techniques don't work on them?
Well,
or do you think it's another reason?
Like, because this is what I'm saying. If hypnotherapy is a tool, then it's not bullshit. Like, we with strong minds, like, second guess, doubt it, and like are too critical of it for it to work on us.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it bullshit. Because if it works on somebody whose mind is not that critical and doesn't overthink that, then it's like it exists as a functional tool, but doesn't function on everybody. So I'm kind of wondering, like, is it just there? And like the reason why it didn't grasp on you is because your life is about like taking charge of your willpower and like making things happen out of your own will.
Yeah.
Whereas other people's lives are more of like they need to let go and let it happen for them. So then a hypnotherapy might be their suitedness.
Yeah, that makes sense. The reason why I even approached that in the first place, because like, remember that guy I showed you a long time ago? His name was Darren Brown. He's he's a hypnotherapist, like a mentalist. All the time,
man, when he's paying with the fucking
he's
pieces of paper.
That guy's a fucking master.
Yeah,
and he even explains himself like whenever he does like that hypnotherapist type of show.
Yeah,
or not hypnotherapist, like what do you call it? Hypnotist.
Yeah,
sorry, that's the word. He explains that not everyone will be receptive to the techniques, and he's like a world class, like some of the best hypnotists in the entire world. And I remember doing it. I've been to like places where people get hypnotized. Like I went with my ex-girlfriend. I went one time in high school, and I never really found these things like I was interested by them, not in the sense of like I wanted to be hypnotized. In the sense that I think I could be able to do that, or I was interested in how those mechanisms worked.
Yeah, because the other question that comes to mind is like, are people who can get hypnotized, are they like lesser on the spectrum? Like, are they more in the fog of like they don't understand the world and the way it really works and the way that they can make themselves work? So like, since they're in the fog, like they are the targets. Right. And is this why he says, not everybody can be hypnotized, because not everybody's, that sort of naive is like a negative connotation word to use for it, but that kind of fits the essence. Like these people are just, not, because like if I say they're in the fog, I'm not saying they're dumb, but also compared to like somebody who's not in the fog, they would seem dumb, but that's just in like contrast. So these people are at whatever stage in their journey, like, after X amount of lifetimes, they won't be as much in the fog. But for this right now, in this one, they're here as this like malleable, like very impressionable soul. And thus, maybe that's why hypnotherapy exists and works for them.
Makes sense.
I've always wanted to go do a past life regression. I've been kind of curious about that. And I've had the same sort of reservations as you. It's like, all right, like, I would go and try to be hypnotized the best I could. I'd tell myself like, no, you can. But I guess there is a part of me that wonders, like, is my mind too active to be, remember we tried to hypnotize each other.
We did.
Mom was like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
My mom?
But yeah, afterwards, not during the time, but yeah, I remember you telling me the next day, you're like, yeah, my mom's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But we tried.
I think we had some visuals at the time. I think I might have been smoking way too much weed for that to actually work on me at the time too. But
were we high at the time?
I don't think you were. I think I was still smoking weed at that time.
Yeah. Okay. Because if you said you quit in 2017, I quit in 2012.
Yeah, it's a 5-year gap.
Yeah. Really? Fuck, it didn't feel like that long.
Yeah, man, I smoked a lot of weed. Back in those days. Fuck.
Yeah. It's guy at the skate park today is like, "Here, man, I'll trade you these rolling papers for cigarettes." I'm like, "No, man, I don't need that." He's like, "You don't smoke weed?" I'm like, "No." Nah. He's just like, the look.
Couldn't grasp it.
Yeah, I'm like, "Well, I did at one point. Like, does this
Been
make
there,
this
done
easier?" Yeah. He's like, "Well, what happened? Like, did you have a bad trip?" Like, I don't know, kind of. I just, like, I told him I had a mushroom trip and I was like real vivid in it. And then when I took a fucking rip off the bong, it sucked the feeling. So like I remembered the trip, but I was like, I was in it, so I was feeling it as if it was a world. And when I exhaled the weed, it just took all the feeling and just left the memory. And then I was just like, I don't want it. I don't think this is
for you,
for me.
Yeah.
And so like I've dabbled in it since, and I told him too, like, ironically, I quit weed because of a shroom trip. But the only time I've really enjoyed weed is when I'm on a shroom trip and I want something to calm me down. So that's.
Do you find weed calms you down?
It does, yeah. Like I have to, respectful amount, not just fucking puffing and blazing like nobody's business, but a few tokes.
And I'm sure you know my story too when it comes to quitting weed. That months before that, I had actually it was that one trip we had in my basement on Christmas. That time there, the mushrooms told me to quit smoking weed, saying that I didn't need this anymore. It's already served me. Now it's time to move on. And I didn't listen. And I had bad trip, kind of a psychosis episode months later on. And that's what triggered me to quit smoking weed.
Okay.
It kind of just slapped me in the face. So I was smoking way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much at the time. Like gram and a half, almost 2 grams of like dabs and shatter and
Jesus.
Yeah. And this, mind you, this is before it was legal,
Yeah, I know. That's the other thing. We get out right before fucking hit fucking positive.
We're fucking hipsters, aren't we? Still smoking weed before it became legal.
Yeah. I quit when it got illegal. Well, I ain't doing what the government told me. Fuck's sakes. Yeah.
We've been going half an hour. Not bad, not bad.
No, we rolled. Start felt a little rocky, but I found the groove.
Yeah. So you checked in. I don't think I really explained to where I was at right now. Spirituality for me hasn't been as prevalent as it has been in the past.
Okay.
Though I still go through life with specific philosophies, I think I try not to think of the future and the past. I try to be here and now the most I can. I feel like that is beneficial for me.
Yeah.
Because the future, tomorrow, the past don't exist, and there's no real reason for me to dwell on those things. And for me,
they don't exist.
They're concepts. In reality, when tomorrow comes, it will be now.
Yeah. Okay.
And when the past happened, it was now.
Okay.
So all there is now. So all you can do is have an experience now.
So then how do you process planning for something?
Well,
you just don't?
Well, you plan now.
Yeah. So then the future that is just the now, it's coming. You don't mind. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky. I don't know.
You are, and that's fine. And it's a hard philosophy to embody completely because when you work a job, to really understand that it's like, okay, well, I work on these days. You kind of have to think about the next few days. But I try not to dwell on those things. I try not to dwell or have faith in tomorrow or have be excited for things that are happening in the future because you never know what could happen. Until they come, you know what I mean? That's why I think those concepts don't really need to suit you because thinking about the past will only give you baggage, man. Unless you
if you're reviewing it to learn from it.
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
And that's the only time you should be thinking about the past, is to learn from it and not drag it around with you like some kind of depressed monkey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People do that. Like, oh, I would be so much better off if this hadn't happened to me.
A lot of people do it, man. They have regret and trauma and shit. They just hold on to it, and that's honestly the majority of people. And that's why I like this philosophy, because I try not to be defined by what happened before. That's why if you check out my social media, I always have this one quote. I'm sure you know, it's on my Instagram, it's on my Facebook. It's, "You are what you are doing." Meaning, in every changing moment of your reality, what you are doing is who you are in that exact moment.
Yeah.
So right now we are podcasting, we are alive, living, speaking, communicating.
Yeah.
Connecting constantly. And then whatever you do, like if you're doing a sport, if you're going to the gym, if you're watching TV, if you're at work, that's what you should be concentrating on. You shouldn't be, honestly, when you're doing something, you should be 100% involved into it. If you're thinking about something else while you're doing something that's in front of you, then you're not actually doing it. You're not there. You're not present. You're not actually being immersed in whatever it is. So you're always thinking about some time in the future or the past.
You change the you that you are
by what you're doing. You are what you are doing.
Okay, so it's like this layered thing. That's like, it sounds simple, but it applies to multiple angles.
Absolutely. That's kind of my stick, like having a simple phrase that can mean a lot of things and be applied in a lot of different areas. Like when I'm at the gym, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to eat after. Sometimes I do because I'm fucking hungry, but but if I'm at the gym, I'm like, yeah, it's funny because I work with a lot of people, and some people, they get to the gym, they use it as therapy, you know what I mean? They have all the stuff going on in their life, and this is like the release of it. But
reprieve.
I will tell them this whenever I work out with people. I'm like, hang up your hang-ups at the fucking door. You can grab them when you leave, but when we're at the gym, we're thinking about this only, please.
Yeah.
Because any other distraction, you are not giving yourself 100%. And why wouldn't you want to give yourself 100% in everything that you do? And as soon as you start thinking about other things, you're not there. You're not present. You're not giving yourself the best of yourself.
So then these things that distract you, like, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said, like being focused on the task at hand.
Yeah.
And I get where you're coming from of like, I think that concept might be called the eternal now. Like,
absolutely.
The now is just consistently throughout everything.
That is just it. And that is how you become eternal. I've actually felt that before in my life. And it's hard to be in an ongoing state of that. You really have to the whole topic, but
let's delve into that a bit, because that's kind of where I was going. Like, if you're distracted of things, I think that's usually a sign that you need to clean up your life.
Absolutely.
Like your hang-ups aren't just like these things where it's like
they're presenting themselves to you because they need to be fixed.
Yeah, it's not like just hang up. If I just got rid of my hang-ups, it's not the hang-ups, it's the things that are causing the hang-ups that need to be mitigated, changed, altered, whatever.
Absolutely.
So I guess that's just the body's natural intuition.
Yeah.
Because I would say, here's one thing that I've developed as I've gone on. When we first started, and I was like, heard about psychics and intuition, I was like, dude, I got to develop this so I can be a psychic, and I thought that would like make me sort of stand alone amongst the rest. And so pursued that wholeheartedly. Like, how do I develop my psychic skills? What do I do? What do I do? And as time has gone on, I've realized more and more that we are all psychic. Like, I know I might have heard that initially somewhere along the way of like learning about psychic skills.
Through spirit science and stuff like that, we all have these inert abilities that we were once more psychic or in the past and now we've lost touch with that. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, it just kind of, as time's gone on, it's debunked the barrier of like, oh, I need to go see a psychic. Yeah. It's like,
and you've seen psychics.
I've seen psychics. I've seen some that
alleged
wicked good. Well, this is where it's like, I mean, the alleged. It's not alleged if we all have the capabilities of tapping into our own intuition for our own good.
Yeah.
I think maybe the better way to...
I mean, alleged in the sense, like, have they actually tapped into it or not?
Well, like, yes. I mean, I've not... Okay, I've seen 3 different ones, and I would go A, B, and C, and that would be the tier. Like, C tier was, like, I felt like she had too much of herself that hadn't been discovered.
Right.
So she couldn't really read me like she could have. And so she was giving me these readings. I'm like, I already know most of this. And like she did say some things. It's like a broken clock's right twice a day. You know, like there was at least some good stuff from it.
Mm-hmm.
But the first one I saw was like magnificent. And so I'm wondering if like a psychic is better defined as like, we all have psychic abilities for ourselves, for our own benefits, like for our own survival or like our own, thrival. I know that's not a word, but like, for to make our own lives good. But maybe some people have an ability to be psychic beyond their own necessity.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe this is more where a psychic is somebody who's like, they obviously use their own intuition for themselves, but their intuition is able to peer past. And so I felt like that was the first one.
Is that the prerequisite to being a successful psychic? Like
should be.
Not to get too deep into the nitty gritty of this, but I think it's worth the sake of the argument. Like, where does being psychic start and stop? Do you know what I mean? In the sense of like, what determines someone being fluently psychic?
Well, I mean, for one, being able to look at a person and just tell more so know things about that person that person has not said to you. So, like, for example, the first psychic
you think this is universal?
I would say like it's earthiversal, like at least the ones on Earth.
Not pertaining like specifically to you, like what you want out of a psychic versus like what psychic abilities can entail.
That's confusing me. To say it a different way.
In the sense of like the stereotypical version of what people think psychic is versus your opinion of what psychic is.
Okay. So I guess like the stereotype is that you go, they see your future and they tell you, like, don't walk on that street next Monday or, like so you will be married in 2 months. So like that's them knowing your future events. So I feel like those stereotypes are also what I would want from a psychic, like,
yeah.
Our questions vary, obviously, depending upon the individual. Some person might be concerned about when they're going to get married. Like, I'm married. I'm not going to be as concerned about when I'm going to get married.
Yeah.
But that's, I'm just being cheeky when I say that. I have different concerns as well.
I know what you mean. But, like, do you think that we are communicating now on any psychic level, like, in our modern society?
Well, okay, so this is going to branch off to a different direction because I would just say yes. Like me and you speaking,
yeah,
we use words, better than maybe some people that I come across.
We've had a conversation about body language and things like that before, and I think even that, like the ability for your brain to recognize someone's body language, they say 70-75% of communication is body language.
Yeah.
Therefore, in a sense, without someone actually saying a word, you can kind of tell. You can tell if someone's mad without saying a word, or if they're happy, or if they're in any state of emotion. Because
so here's an interesting thing on this. It's like 75%, whatever the percentage of body language, that's conveying the truth of their emotions currently.
Exactly.
So it's only...
And if they're good at displaying their emotions in the physical form.
Well, like everybody's emotions are written on their face, right? Like,
well, not necessarily, but
not
like
to every set of eyes, but
there's varying degrees in that.
so
Some people can be very stern, very not characterizing very much emotion.
but that shows their, like, to me, then that shows their
That is an
character,
emotion, I
that
suppose.
they're kind of like a fucking moron. Like, okay, cool, you're gonna be stern faced,
But
like,
how accurate if they're actually feeling something inside? It's not always 100% accurate in that sense. But I get what you're getting at.
okay, I see what you're saying too. Like, if they're stern, then it's like, okay, they're hiding, they're like, they're making you try to like believe this exterior and then they want like their interior to be this hidden thing that you don't know. So
I think that's inherently a psychic ability to be able to discern those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would think like for psychic, like, yeah, you could do this because I mean, if we both see like some stern person, like for one, the image that pops to my mind is a man. I mean, I'm sure a woman could behave like this, but I've seen more men be like, I don't believe in that. And so like now I know that he's kind of like dogmatic. He's not a thinker. He's a very like you use the term, he ain't woke in the least bit. It's like my dad did this and so I did this, and if you did this, then you'll get what I got. It's like, okay, bro, like that's not the way the world seems to be functioning.
Toxic masculinity.
Essentially this. So then,
I don't believe in that, by the
way. No, me neither. But I mean, that would be just like toxic behavior, period. That's like, sure, a man did it, but like shitty is shitty, no matter the gender. I don't know. It's like it can discern him. There's not much to discern there, right? Like, it's like he's so closed off that even if you explain to him his emotions, I mean, perhaps, this is where you got to have faith in the person that they could be able to go beyond what they're, displaying to you right there. Right. Have faith that.
Just for the sake of like understanding on both sides, I'll give you like my archetypal psychic person.
Okay.
I think when I think of a psychic in that sense, they have the ability to communicate at a higher level, telepathically, using more than even emotions, like having a whole other sensations as well. It could be downloads of like ancestral to like future based stuff, premonition, the ability to tap into someone's time frame. I think these are like at the highest level of psychic abilities.
Yeah.
But I think the first one I always think of is like this kind of like telepathic communication and the ability to, like I said, tap into those time frames within a person.
Okay.
So do you think that at the highest level of psychic, they could or should, say should, but I shouldn't say should, could be able to tap into someone's latent potential to lose my train of thought here.
I'm agreeing with most. Just the telepathic thing is getting me a bit of a hang up, because I've only had one experience where I was communicating telepathically with somebody, and it was.
Were you on drugs?
Was I on drugs?
Because I've had to what I thought was, whether it actually was in reality, that's a different thing. But to my experience, there was one time I was on mushrooms, and in our neighborhood that we live, I needed to leave my house, because I felt a calling, to go outside and walk around our neighborhood. So what I did, I walked down the streets and I kept looking at the trees because I felt like they had to say something to me.
Okay.
And at some point where the mushrooms started to kick in even more, I felt like I was having communication, telepathic communication, however communication you want to describe it as. with the trees. They were telling me if they're happy or sad, their emotions.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily in words. It was more or less in like frequency and vibration.
Yeah.
I could tell if ones were what gender they were, male, female, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell if some of them were pissed off at other trees, or this guy here was like giving them too much shade and he couldn't grow properly. You know what I mean? It was kind of like it's kind of like a high school
politics of trees.
Yeah, it was very very cool in a
Yeah.
sense to have that kind of connection to the tree. And then when I touched it, that's when it went to the next level, because I felt like I wasn't only connecting with the tree, but I was connecting with the entire planet.
Yeah.
It was like me and the planet. There was no separation. There was only like this kind of, I don't want to say connectedness, because like I don't think connection actually exists.
Mm-hmm.
For connection to exist, there have to be separation in the first place. I think everything's already
I knew where you're going. I liked it.
intertwined.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was like realizing my unity with everything again.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
And that was a very, like, when you walk outside and you start communicating with trees, it's not something people talk about on a daily basis unless you do psychedelics and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But for me, that was a very profound experience, and I still remember to this day. I still remember the feelings that I got.
Yeah.
I felt very refreshed the next day. My afterglow lasted almost 3 days because I was so high on that experience of being.
So, in terms of telepathy, you were telepathically communicating with trees.
That's the word I used, and that's what I felt like that was happening, because there was no words involved. It was through frequency.
Yeah. So I have no qualms with that. I wasn't trying to like even debate that.
Now, would you say that's in the realm of psychic abilities, or is that a spiritual ability?
To me, those would be synonymous, so I wouldn't even differentiate between the two. Like a psychic ability has basis in spirituality. The psychics being able to telepathically communicate with every person that they meet, I don't feel like that's a fair requirement for them. And
some people are closed off or don't have the ability to communicate with the psychic or whatever.
Well, see, check this, because I can use my own experience to like almost debunk this. The telepathic communication I had was with a person. It was a girl, and she was telling me that the girl that I was with was not the right one for me, and she was telling me specific things about me and that girl that like I had not spoke of with anybody but that girl and I remember this. And so I that eventually like fought her out of my head, and when I did, she had got like sick, and then she's like, I have to go, and she just left the party. So I knew why she had to go, because I knew what I was doing to get rid of her in my head. And I spoke to her the next day of it, and she was like, not, she didn't say like, oh yeah, like I heard you in my brain too. So what I wondered is maybe she has like a spirit attached to her that could communicate with me, or it could also be that she was, not willing to say that it was what it was. Maybe she was fearful. I don't know. But just using that, the really good psychic I went to see, if I'm receptive to telepathy, why was it that psychic didn't just speak to me telepathically?
Right.
That's where I'm kind of using that to sort of debunk it.
Yeah. So what made this psychic a good psychic?
Because I walked in and I didn't even say anything, and she just started saying like, I see. She's like, oh, and then she just kind of stopped. She's like, I see a wizard. She's like, I see tarot cards. I see astrology. And she's like, I see that you don't do it the same way as other people. Like there's a unique way in which you pursue it. And so for numerology,
and that was pretty accurate time, because I remember that's what was happening within the realm of what you were doing at the time.
Yeah. And so like there's no way she could have known. Like there's just no way. I try to play like devil's advocate for like to no avail. Like to me, it's a waste of time to like try and like come up with some sort of conundrum where like,
And
don't know.
you're pretty good at that too. You can usually smell bullshit pretty quick.
This is what I was thinking. I mean, like, short of her creeping in my bedroom and reading my fucking notebooks, there's not really a way, because nobody that had contact with her, like my mom was the only one who had contact with her. My mom didn't understand a lick of what I was going through. She didn't even know what numerology was, period, like, let alone that I did it differently. So there's no way that my mom could have conveyed that to her. And so that
Was this in the John Daly days?
this was pre John Daly days. Because that's another interesting one. Like, you talk about telepathic, that was damn near telepathic. Like,
that'll be for another podcast. But like, I just want to see the time frame of what was going on.
So this would be when I came back from Europe from running away in 2013.
Right.
After my breakup, I ran away to France and then eventually came back. And so she wanted me to go see a shrink, basically, because she's like, this is not normal behavior. And I was like, I'm not going to see a fucking shrink. I was like, if you want me to go see something, I'll go see a psychic, and that's it. That's all. And so we compromised at first on a naturopath. Waste of my blade time. I still, to this day, I think that girl's one of the dumbest bitches I ever met. But anyways, then my mom heard about a psychic that her coworker had gone to. And so she was like, this suffice? I'm like, sure. I'd never been. I just wanted to go because I trusted a psychic to read me accurately. I didn't trust a psychologist. A psychologist is going to like reference his textbooks. And if his textbooks don't incorporate somebody like me, he might, misinterpret me and diagnose me with something that's like a waste of both our time. So like, I really didn't want to waste my time. I didn't feel like I needed that. Like, I knew why I did what I did. Everything was conscious. Was it different than what other people had done? Sure. But like, that didn't mean that it was psychotic. That just meant that it was different. So, that's how people, kind of react to different stuff. They, think it's fucking fucked at first. And
yourself now viewing that moment, what do you think was that? Like, how would you describe that? What do you think that was at the time?
Like, why I ran away, or like
that whole situation? Do you think you were having some type of download or enlightenment or something of the sort? You think you could put a label on it?
I could, like, from the stuff I've read about spiritual awakenings, seems to fit that pretty well to a T. I mean, people do all sorts of crazy stuff when they get spiritually awakened. They quit jobs, divorce partners, sell houses, leave, move. Like, it's not uncommon for people to just absolutely uproot their current iteration of life. Now, from my experience, is that what's best? I don't know that all the time it is. Now, at the time, I would have said, yeah, that's the best thing to do. Like, if you can run away, go run away. Sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you just need to process that emotion and, like, go deeper and understand why it is you want to get away from what you're trying to get away from. And that, I guess that's ideal. And again, I guess that's almost like trying to tell somebody not touch the burner. And, can you get yourself to not touch the burner? That takes a lot of tools that you might not have when that fucking flame catches. So I think it's forgiven that people do. And I mean, the testament to like that being maybe not exactly the best, and I say that with an asterisk, is that I'm still here in Moncton. Like, had I ran away to France and I was still there, then, that would be a testament to say, when the urge strikes you to just uproot and throw it all away, like, pursue it with no end, and you'll work out okay. I think that's also the general takeaway, is like, no matter what you do, you will eventually get grounded again. But it could be like your spirit gets launched into space, or like gets connected with something that's so not the way that we live here, that to cope with living here becomes just a very painful, confusing, tiring, depressing, fucking just aggravating. And
I think a lot of people can feel that. Do you think differently about it now? Like how that experience changed you? Do you think now in your current state that was a necessary thing that needed to happen?
I think especially now, like being married has had a lot of like I've never been with somebody for this long. So for me,
It's true.
learning to be with a person and not just like throw the person away when you don't like some things about them, that has kind of been a lesson. I mean, fortunately, I like basically everything about my wife, so that's not been as much of an issue. But
I mean, that's exactly what you would want from a wife.
it's
I hope
yeah.
so, at least.
So I guess for me, when things are tough and like talking them through things that are not like specifically about her, more so things that we face, like selling a house or selling a cottage or moving, like these are not faults of either partner. These are like things that we have to face and then decide together. And so when I when I feel like it's maybe not being registered in the same way or like our levels of understanding it are different, I don't just jump ship and like I used to be like, all right, you don't understand this right now. That's fine. I'm gonna leave you. You stay at this level of understanding. I'm gonna go.
So you think you've matured? Do you think it was an actual like human maturation, or do you think it was a spiritual maturation? Do you think you've fell more into your own shoes? I'll let you explain that. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I really need to take this.
Okay.
So
Well, I can. Yeah, you do.
But I do want to hear
Pause?
about that. There's pause on live stream,
I don't
guys.
think there's no pause on the live stream.
But I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. I'll fill the void with a harmonica solo.
Yeah, nice.
Here we go, folks. We get Blue Midnight Honer Special. Thank you to Hi Ho Music and Saint Antoine for selling this cheap, I think. $36. Calaboom.
Boom. No.
Fettuccine.
All we've been going for. Wow, holy shit.
Yeah.
An hour and 4 minutes. Not bad, guys. We're almost done. One beer.
Beers. Your beer, my beer? What's your beer over there? What's my beer over there?
Who's your beer?
Oh,
How much you have left? I get quiet. I'm almost done.
yeah, I've been sipping gingerly.
So, how does your wife feel of you sleeping on the ground and she gets to sleep in the bed, not next to you?
That was a steep hill to climb. I mean, at the start, what we did is we put a piece of plywood on my side of the bed, I tried that for a while. Not very sufficient. So then I tried sleeping just on the bed. That's also bad. So then there was also the matter of like our sleep schedules don't line up. Like I stay up late at night, and so
Yeah, you are a night owl, man. I have no clue how you fucking your circadian rhythm fucking works.
it loves the night, man. It's quiet. The rest of y'all shut up, and I finally get some peace of mind. I'm kidding.
Christ.
But
No,
so
you've been saying that for a long time.
yeah.
So what have you noticed by your how long has it been since you've been sleeping on the flat surface of the floor?
I'd be like 2015, 8 years. Yeah.
Was that hard at first?
No, but I mean, how it happened is I fucking moved out of my parents' house and lived in a tent in the backyard. So I ran away to France, came back. I was still mad at them for not, because what happened to me when I learned spiritual stuff and really got like, started applying it to my life and saw the use of it, I was furious with them for not knowing about this and not applying it to their own life. So that took a long time to.
I mean, your dad is like approach spirituality in a completely different manner. He is.
Well, he was a minister. Yeah,
he's a minister.
Well familiar with the Bible, and then eventually dismissed the Bible as like literal. And
do you think not to like get off topic, just real quick? Do you think that when people say spirituality, do you think that encompasses like religion and God and things like that, or do you think it encompasses what we talk about in that sense? Because those are all intertwined with spirituality.
Or we talk about, I think, like post-date this, maybe, I don't know, 500 years ago, then spirituality, was like mostly just religion. And I think that's where religion has failed, is it's not evolved to like incorporate the new concepts coming out of spirituality. You know?
Right.
Diana,
even though they're based in that.
Yeah. There's a lot of correlation. I mean, you can go look at people, talk about the Bible verses, and you brought one up about King Solomon. Like, there's so much wisdom in that book that has, it transcends the like need to go sit in a pew and have communion, it's bigger than that, or longer lasting.
Right.
And then there's the other aspect, since we're on this, I just bring it up, but church did serve like a large role for the community because it was a place where people gathered and tried to figure out spirituality. So I think initially, like, it was a really beautiful thing. And then eventually it got dark because whatever, they wanted to say, no, my religion's better than your religion, or like shit like this. And
the holy wars, man, that's where it starts.
So initially, and I think still that idea of like people coming together as a community and trying to figure out spirituality. I mean, me and you, for fuck's sakes, we're just two. But, anybody who watches this podcast, they are part of that sort of approach of like trying to learn about spirituality and trying to figure that out. That is a healthy thing for us all to do because it is a part of life. My biggest gripe is always when people are like, oh, I'm not really all that spiritual.
Right.
It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, spirituality is you, despite you thinking that you're not spiritual. Like, you don't get to really make these choices and claims that you're not spiritual. Like, you are a fucking spiritual being. Maybe you're on a lower level if you're thinking that spirituality is like an option to fucking believe it, but nonetheless it fucking governs parts of your life. So
on a dating profile, what is your religion? I am spiritual.
Dude, the atheists can all suck my big old fucking, I hate.
I remember watching a podcast with Saguru.
Yeah.
And he was on Joe Rogan, and he had said something that kind of made me ponder.
Mm-hmm.
That podcast was a little interesting. Like, he's a guy I take with a grain of salt, even though he has a lot of really good tidbits of knowledge. I think what he had said in that podcast was that religion is dying off. Not many people have been involved with this for a while now.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Do you think it's a dying thing? Do you think people are gravitating towards it lately? Where do you see that?
Nor you or I need to like agree with that. The evidence is there. Like, my dad's church When I used to go to church as a kid, easily 60 people in that thing. I go to his church now. I mean, he's retired, but last time I went to his church, 10 people, and like you can say whatever COVID, even before COVID, 15 people. So like the steam in that engine is really coming to a halt. And, sadly, the ones that have more congregants are the ones that are super dogmatic, like the Baptists. You go to a Baptist church, you're going to catch about maybe 30, 40 people in it. But it's like, that's because those people are diehards, right? My dad's church was more progressive.
Tending towards more of the extremist type of view.
Yeah. So you're getting a bunch of loopies, and I mean, nobody wants to be there in the first place.
Do you think people go to church not only because of the religious experience, but because of the community experience? They have friends that go, and it's kind of more of a I don't want to say tribal, but like a commune type of mentality that they have, like the specific people they go with or the families they go with.
Well, you're on the right energy there. Like the community aspect of it, that's what's kind of sad that's being lost. Like my dad's church was progressive in terms of like, they obviously began like, okay, the Bible is the word of God. They weren't like super staunch, like this is a sin, this is not a sin. They weren't, that's Baptist. But as time went on, my dad started thinking like, okay, the Bible's not literal. So what is God? At one point he took a stance, he was an atheist. That to me was, though I say it's stupid, it is a step in the journey towards.
That's pretty radical for a minister to go to that stage too, and that shows your father's spiritual journey as well, right?
Yeah.
To be able to question his own spirituality, it takes a lot of guts, like that's especially when you've dedicated so much of your life into something that you thought was going to be your career. You know what I mean? What's the religion that your dad is a minister at?
So he'd be classified as Christian, Protestant, then United. So it goes Christian, and then Protestant or Catholic, and then from Protestant there's like Baptist, United.
Is there a big religion difference between Protestant and Catholic?
I think in the rituals, yeah. And
because
maybe don't even.
I was growing up Catholic.
Correct. Yeah, because maybe Protestant does incorporate Catholicism, but I'm not really sure for sure.
I think Catholic, out of all of like that style, especially in America or Canada at least, is still pretty popular.
Yeah, I mean,
would you say that's the most popular out of all the Christian derivatives?
Yeah, I would presume. Yeah, I mean, there's the fucking Vatican, for Christ's sakes. Like, it's such a big machine, and it's a little less staunch. Like Baptists are the worst for being like basically racist. Like not actually against race, but like this is sin. You're going to hell if you do this. Like they're the worst uppities. The Catholics don't have as much of that. No. It's there, but like not as.
When I used to go to church, there used to be at least like almost 100 people that would show up.
Yeah. When you look at the size of that cathedral downtown or Mountain Road there by Hines.
That's the one I used to go to. It was St. Augustine's.
Yeah. That thing's fucking big, man.
Yeah.
And my dad's church was kind of big, but not like that. So, I mean, I think the size of it stands as a testament, too, to like which religion was favored.
And I think that church is still ongoing. I haven't been in a long time. I went through Sunday school, or it's called catechism, sorry.
Yeah.
I did all that stuff, like at the time, like I just did it because it was the right thing to do as a Catholic. Whether I actually agreed with those statements or not, I didn't know if God existed. I didn't know any of those things.
I mean, as a kid, I was not thinking about that shit that much, really.
I had a thought one time, like I think it was almost towards the end, like why am I here? Why am I doing this? Like, what is the purpose of all this? I started questioning. I didn't question the existence of God, but I questioned why we were doing any of this stuff in the first place.
Why you had to wake up Sunday hungover to go fucking listen to some douchebag. That was my thing as I got
Father Carroll.
older. Father Carroll. Well, he might have been the one. I remember because we had our 4 friends die in high school, right? And going to the Catholic ceremony, the priest just kept going on about how Jimmy was so excited to now be with his best friend Jesus. And it's
It wouldn't
just
surprise me because Jimmy Dunphy also was at what middle school did he go to?
He went to Queenie.
Went to Queenie. So that's the middle school I went to as well.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I wasn't 100% sure, but I remember seeing him there.
Yeah.
And I lived in that neighborhood as well, so that would make sense that he would have gone to that church. Same with Hanson, actually. He used to go to that church all the time.
But that is like one of the that proves the disconnect of the church. Like, I think this is a general rule that just goes with everybody anywhere doing anything. Like, keep connected or keep yourself involved with the generation that is going on. Rather, have opinions maybe, but keep a tab on it.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it?
And because it felt like when that guy was like, oh yeah, Jimmy's gone to be with his best friend Jesus, you imagine all us 16-year-olds just lost a good dear friend in a tragic event, and this idiot's up here telling us that Jimmy's stoked about it and he's going to fucking visit his best friend Jesus. I never heard Jimmy speak of Jesus once, and you tell me there's just that shows the level of you need to speak to the youth as the youth that they are. And if you can find a way to work in your beliefs, then, weave it in a way that's logical or makes sense to them, understand your audience, but then also your beliefs should be adapting just this same way as well. If you're adapting your speech to be able to fit the youth, you should also be evolving your beliefs in the same way so that they aren't as polarizing. And this just then goes for all religion. Now I'm talking about a different point, but to always stay afloat with what's going on and not just be rap was better in my day, rock is fucking digital now. This.
It's the same thing recycled over and over again. Okay, two points. First point, do you think there is the spiritual equivalent to religion that is accessible to people today? Or do you think it's more based on the individual?
No, I think you're there with the individual because if I just look at both our pursuits, we went about that independently, discovered that each other was into it, and then even then we still
AKA
studied
podcast.
Yeah, but at our start, we both studied it by ourselves, then found out oh, you know about this, so then we shared. Yeah. But everything that we shared, we consumed privately or sometimes we watch videos together and learn both in real time, but a lot of it was an independent pursuit. So I don't know if that speaks more to our character or if that speaks to the path of the person pursuing spirituality. It could be, I guess my best answer would be right now as it is, that's kind of the only means to do it because we don't have what religion had of I can't just go to the spiritual house and learn about astrology and numerology or ice baths, yoga, whatever the hell. I can't just YouTube is church.
See, this is what we got to do, man. This is their purpose in life. We gotta start with these things. You know what I mean? Who does that? You can get that
in LA, man. I'm sure.
Exactly. You go to fucking Burning Man.
Far away from home.
It's a good point. You know what I mean? I feel like we should have some type of place so we can actually experience these things. We go to festivals and in New Brunswick where you have Future Forests and places like that, where people really are accepting of everyone's spiritual journey.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice for something like that. Something to touch on a little more. Maybe we can discuss this more in a future episode.
Yeah, I'm just picturing them turning churches into 24/7 rave houses.
But that's just it. That's the only time we really come together to talk about these things. Unless you're actually have a group of friends that you see on a daily basis that you can actually talk about these things to, and which is Very rare, by the way, because I don't know many people I can actually get to this level of intellectual conversation with. That's why me and you have become friends for this long, anyways, because we're able to communicate in an intelligent way that stimulates.
And we continue to study, you know. I mean,
Absolutely.
we've seen lots of people pick it up for a minute and then just let it go. So I think like
we are a student of life, you know what I mean? Like, we don't necessarily need to research. It's just our walk through life. We have an understanding in a way that me and you both can communicate on a high degree.
Yeah, because we've consumed quite similar knowledge.
Absolutely, and this is what I was saying before. We've established somewhat of a tool belt.
Yeah,
like a Batman utility belt, per se, for an analogy, that has a whole bunch of things that we've accumulated through our journey and will continue to accumulate or replace or add new to our awesome Batman belt of life. I don't know how you want to call it, but you understand what I mean.
Yeah, the reason that you get into spirituality is because it applies to your life. It's not just like model trains. It's not a hobby you enjoy. No, it's real time.
It's embodying this, because what else is there? What else is there? You know what I mean? Like
you can summarize in that joke you had of like practical philosophy.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, what the fuck is this? Like, all philosophy is practical. Was it practical? Yeah.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
A practical philosophy. Like, why would it be? Yeah.
Impractical.
Impractical philosophy is kind of a fucking oxymoron. You know what I mean?
I guess.
The second point was that we went on a tangent and we were talking about you sleeping on the floor versus sleeping in the bed with your wife.
Yeah. I mean, it just was something that we obviously discussed and then like figured a way. So, I mean, the current balance now is I'm up like half the night anyways.
Right.
So by the time I go to bed, she's in bed for a couple hours before work. I go to the bed, sleep with her in the bed. When she wakes up for work, I go to the floor. So
get into that a little more. Like you started sleeping outside because of your circumstances.
Because of love.
Love.
Because of the outside. The outside, I slept outside because I hated my parents for not like applying spiritual knowledge and also not giving it to me. That was a big bone of contention I had, was like, when I discovered all this knowledge, I was like, why didn't you fucking idiots tell me about it? And it's so fucking naive. Like, I didn't stop once to think they didn't tell you about it because they don't fucking know it. I was just like...
That's the cool thing with our fucking time. We have access to all this shit.
Yeah. God bless the internet.
God bless the fucking internet.
So I spent almost a year in a tent, and one snowstorm, it fucking busted my tent pole. So I reluctantly went inside, and I didn't want to go inside, so I slept in the garage. At that time, me and you we did the shrooms at Christmas. I was still sleeping in the garage at that point. And in the garage, I had a piece of plywood laid out over some sawhorses and just slept on that. And then
this is the bottom. This is terrible.
It's gross, man. That's where it shines its fucking true face.
No, thank you.
Anyways, so then progress.
Have you noticed any benefits to sleeping on the floor?
Absolutely. And I can tell you right now, I'm in the process of noticing the benefits even to like a more acute degree because I haven't been consistent in it. When I sleep in a bed, I feel like a taco. I feel like my body just is folding up and it's not giving my bones any like structure. When I sleep on the ground, I feel solid and safe. When I sleep in a bed, I feel like I'm sinking in muck. So in my mind, I think that this is like, you want to talk about conspiracy theories? Y'all can talk 9/11, fucking whatever, like alien people, reptilians. I think beds are conspiracy. I think you need to fucking
I don't believe the beds
sleep on the ground.
They don't exist.
You need to get that like structure. It keeps your bones straight. I mean, I never looked into anything. You were the first person who was like, yo, I read this article that supports sleeping on the floor. And so when I read it, it talked about the micro muscles in your body and like definitely just felt stronger. And now I feel weaker from so much bed sleep. Like even this couch, for fuck's sakes. I mean, I put the piece of wood under it to give it some shit, but in my old room, I just had the wooden chair, and the wooden chair was fucking clean cut. So I don't know if that's a personal thing or if that's actually something that everybody should move towards. But
just to interject really quickly, I recently watched a Netflix documentary.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Live to 100.
Mm-hmm.
Secrets of the Blue Zones.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, blue zones are specific areas in the world where people have lived the longest. AKA, they use the word centenarians. They've lived past 100 years old.
Okay.
So one of the top places that have the highest living people is a place called Okinawa. It's an island on the coast of Japan.
Okay.
So if you watch this documentary, they explain how people in their hundreds, they don't even have beds. They use tatami mats, and these old people are constantly getting up and sitting down like 30, 40 times a day. There's no couches. There's low tables. Everyone's sitting on the floor constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about this, like what's the number one cause of injury in old people? Falling. And these people are in their hundreds, getting up and getting down 30, 40 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sleeping on like mats this thin on the ground.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you think differently that like we've way overstimulated our beings here in the West. You know, we have everything's so exaggerated and fucking blown up. It's kind of horrible.
It's luxury. I mean,
it is luxury. We are living like fucking kings and queens right now.
Yeah.
Where when we go back to the simple, we actually have way better quality of life.
It is true. The minimalist lifestyle is the one that gets the most happiness.
I agree. There was another point I was getting here. I interjected because you were talking about like the benefits of.
No, I'm not the person. Like I'm the person asked to just say that. Like I've done it and it works. And to me, that's all you need to know. If you need to know more, you go talk to somebody else because I don't want to convince you. Like
we've had this conversation before too. I know I said this before, but you personally like sleeping in a basement versus sleeping on a higher level because you're now grounded to the ground.
Don't break my heart in front of camera, man. This has been one of the hardest parts of my marriage has been sleeping. And that's, it's got nothing to do with the woman, but then maybe you could say it does. I feel like I know exactly what needs to be done. And
because that's like, what your old room was, right? You slept in
the basement.
The basement. And the basement, you guys know, is typically underground. So you're getting all those negative ions of the earth.
I can give us something positive as to like not go into the depression that has been my fucking like sleeping schedule here in this godforsaken house. My new bed, I've been building it in my mind. And so it's going to be very low to the ground, like maybe yay high off the ground. Like basically I only just want it to be up off the ground so that it's not sitting on it so that it creates mold or scratches. So like as little above the ground as I can get.
Yeah.
And so there'll be a sheet of plywood. And then if anybody's seen them, people make grounding mats, you just take window screen, has to be metal. So there'll be a sheet of window screen as wide as the bed. And then I'm going to pour sand. And I have a layer about like this thick as sand. So there's going to be the grounding mat, the sand, and then the grounding mat on top. And that's my new bed. So I think that will be the best bed. It'll be a solution to like...
Yes.
I think
that's probably the best bet because to give you my experience, I am also living on a top level apartment.
Yeah.
Right at this moment. And I noticed as soon as I started living on a high level, I had headaches, way too much noise distortion in my brain at nighttime. So I know I'm not as cool as you. I sleep in a bed, and I do have a really different approach to sleeping. I have a hard time sleeping in a results now because I've changed my way of sleeping drastically.
Yeah.
So I sleep on a slant, which allows cerebral drainage from your spine, hence cerebral, and your brain. I also have a copper infused topper.
Yeah.
And at the edge of my bed, or the edge, at the end of my bed, underneath the copper topper, I have a grounding mat connected to the wall.
Okay.
So I have the copper mat on the grounding mat. So that, to me, when I lay on my bed, I feel like I am on the ground to a decent degree.
Yeah.
I mean, you can never actually beat the ground. You know, that's the best of the best. You know, but it's pretty good for my semi-split duplex.
Yeah.
Before we get any further, how long do you want to keep this podcast going?
I think we've hit a good point.
I think it's been pretty good. We've had a beer, a big fucking Fax 10. We went and talked about a lot of shit, actually.
We did good.
It kind of flew by now that I think about it.
I mean, we had an idea coming into it, but it just took its own form. And
that's just the way, that's the beauty of it, man.
That's the beauty of talking to you.
Today is, September 6th. It is our friend Justice's birthday.
That's true.
Want to say happy birthday to Justice?
Fuck that. Let's sing him happy birthday. It's always good to sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Justice. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Oh, I didn't know you do that. But, yeah. Just want to say that.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. We decided last second we go live stream. I think it's pretty cool so far.
Yeah, still sitting at 0. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for everyone for tuning in. You know, like hopefully you come after we post this.
I get there early.
If you guys do want to see more of this kind of content, please subscribe. Please leave a comment so we know what is working, what isn't working, what you guys would like us to talk more about. You know, any kind of comment on this will help because we can tailor ourselves a little bit to try to please what's happening. You know, that's not too much to ask.
Direct them to Jules.
Yeah. Kontact Pluto, YouTube, subscribe.
There it is. We're out.